Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I always love talking with her. So much information. She is like the wealth of knowledge when it comes to animals and our pets who are here for a purpose. I think you may have seen or heard of that movie, A Dog's Purpose. Not just talking about dogs today, we're talking about animals, but they're also here to teach us. And there are lessons that come from our animals. We're going to learn some of those lessons. She has been doing this for decades. She works with people and their animals one on one, health, behavioral issues, even transitioning. She harnesses the power of energy and so much more. And she is back with us. Kat Solisti on the program. How are you doing today?
Hey, Steve, I'm good. Good to be with you again.
Me too.
Yeah, we're having fun. I forgot that there's a very important announcement I need to make, and that is that yesterday, an international group of animal communicators founded the International Professional Animal Communicator Association. And we founded it as a nonprofit in Switzerland. And it was
Wow.
very exciting. Yes, this group of us from all over the world, most of us with, pretty much all of us with over 10 years of experience as professional communicators have come together and created this organization. We're still in process, but we incorporated yesterday. So it's very exciting. And I will share more about why that's important and all that good stuff at another time. But I just
Fantastic.
needed to announce that. It's very exciting. This is the
It's about
first
time.
time.
It's
Yeah,
about time. We said the word at the same time. It's
yeah,
about time
that's right.
that it's recognized in that way. And you said at least 10 years, you're 10 times three plus in terms of doing this. And I didn't emphasize when we started today all the things you do, your animal connection. Yes, because you are a communicator with animals and a communicator with people too, as a spokesperson, teacher, author, so much more. I am going to say this and then we're going to move on, but for me, it means a lot. Not only do you communicate with animals and teach and all of that, you have so much knowledge when it comes to animals. And that's the game changer here. You can pick any animal, you'll have the info, the details, or know where to direct us, not taking anything away from our local veterinarian or anything like that. Um, it's almost as if you work in conjunction with them. So I just want to share that because you're wonderful in terms of how
Thank
you run deep in understanding animals. And even before we get on here, I brought up a situation with my dog, and you're like, okay, do this, do this, do this. I'm like, okay, great. I know it would take me like an hour and so much more going to the vet. So I appreciate that. What's the purpose of our animals? Where are we going with this today?
Well, today I want to talk about them as teachers and specifically the wild animals. We all have incredible teachers in our homes that share so much, and we learn so much from when we're open to do that. And of course, many of our beloved companion animals know more about our purpose than we do. Um, but that is something that we talked somewhat about in the past. But what and you mentioned that I have a lot of resources for people and their animals, and that's because I am a researcher. I want to learn. I always want to know more. I always want to see what's going on in the world, whether it's holistic medicine, energy medicine, communication. There's a great push to use AI to decode the language of animals. And
Hmm.
that's some tricky stuff. And many of the scientists who are working on that are excited about it, but many of them also realize the ethical challenges of that. And so, of course, we all want to talk with animals and learn from them. Uh, but using AI as the only source of animal language is missing a huge part of who these beings are.
Hmm.
And one of the things that an animal communicator brings to the table is that we tune in to the heart and soul of a being through our intuitive muscle, if you will, through the different ways of receiving. So we talk about telepathy, which is a mind-to-mind connection. We talk about clairaudience, hearing, clairsentience, Claire Augustus, which is smelling. No, I'm sorry, that's tasting. Claire Augustus is taste. So we have all these words, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, Claire Augustus, Claire, there's another one, that we named those things because they exist. We don't name things that we don't experience or exist, even though a whole lot of people like to deny that what we do, which is, not quantifiable or scientifically whatever, they continue to say it's not scientifically valid, although many communicators have worked with all kinds of organizations as volunteers with the Park Services, with the Forest Service, with in wildlife refuges and stuff. And sadly, they have to kind of do it under the table. And I'm hoping that's going to come to an end soon. But there's a lot of resistance, right, in the scientific community. And we want to collaborate. We want to bring more of the heart and soul, the emotional being to this, in terms of if we're going to communicate and we are really wanting to talk to animals and have a two-way communication, there's so much we need to understand about their emotions and their mental processes and what they care about. At least one scientist did say, I've been studying whales for decades,
Mm.
and the idea that we can just use this AI to say, okay, these sounds mean this, and we should play them back to the whale, that's problematic in so many ways. It actually did piss off a whale when somebody did that.
Mm.
But the other part of that is he said whales have been on this planet for 34 million years. Who are we to say they want to talk to us about anything that we think is important? They want to talk about things that are important to them. And how do we understand that when we don't live in the ocean? We don't have any of their shared experiences except breathing air.
Just totally doesn't sit well with me. There's a place for AI. And here's the thing. So they're using AI to communicate with the whales, but interestingly, that there's an app that takes your AI. So it started with a human, then it went into AI, and it's called Humanify to make it more human after it came from the AI. So
Oh,
maybe they need whaleify. So like this ridiculous what people are doing. It's like crazy.
well,
Crazy.
it's crazy to some, but there is a huge push in the scientific community to do this. In fact, there's a grant called the Dr. Doolittle Grant, which, ouch,
Mm.
um, that they want to give $1 million. This was sponsored by Peter Gabriel, who is a musician
Oh, of
and
course.
a co-founder of what's called the Interspecies Internet, which is a group of scientists who are working to understand animals more deeply.
And he's been
And
part of, by the way, for decades, the
mhm.
Rainforest Initiative in saving the
Oh,
forest and
yes.
animals, plants, everything.
Yeah, no, he's a wonderful human being, and we want to reach out to him too, to help share what we as animal communicators, and of course the International Professional Animal Communicator Association, reach out to him and say, here we would like to partner with this. But in any event,
Sure.
he co-sponsored this grant with a professor out of, I believe, the University of Tel Aviv, or anyway, to offer scientists $1 million grant to who gets their approval because of the progress they've made. So this is real. There was an AI for Animals conference held in California this past March, and we're hoping they're going to be. So far, we haven't had a lot of luck getting through to people about scientists, and we understand that there's a lot of resistance there. There always has been, but it
Mm.
it will change. It will move. So, what is it that we bring as animal communicators from the wild animals, besides an understanding of what matters to them? Because there was a wonderful video made called Spirit about a communicator in Africa named Anna Breitenbach. And Anna is an extraordinary communicator, and everybody can find this on YouTube. And it's about her communication with a leopard who was very unhappy. He was in a sanctuary. He was very unhappy. He would not go out he would stay in the enclosure and not go out and enjoy the property, and the people that were running the sanctuary were very upset and didn't know what to do for him. The husband did not believe in this at all, And he was like a retired police officer or something, very, very logical. But his wife prevailed, and Anna came, and this was all recorded by, I
Wow.
believe, a Indian filmmaker. And it's a brilliant film that shows what we do. And that in that case was to help understand why this beautiful black leopard, who they had called Diablo, never good to name an animal something like that, right? Never good to name an animal Trouble. Or I worked with a client whose dog was named Trouble, and guess what? That's all he got into,
Well, let's
right?
let's let's go. Just slight pause button on that. If you subscribe to energy
Mhm.
and manifestation, and the energy flows where the attention goes. You're already calling your dog trouble. It's as if you're saying, "Yeah, more. Give me more trouble. This is what we like trouble. So give us more trouble. That's
Exactly.
fantastic." Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
horrible.
that's kind of a duh, right? But yeah.
Not for everybody. Not for everybody.
No, obviously, not for everybody. So sometimes we have to point those really obvious things out for people and encourage them to change the name. And then voila, I had that happen with a horse too, beautiful mare, and her person called her Tank. And
Tank?
so Tank. And so we were talking, and she said, I really don't like that name. And we came up with a beautiful name for her that was just light and airy, and I forget what it was, but it was beautiful. And it changed everything. It changed how the gal rode. It changed how they performed
Isn't
together.
that
It
something?
changed the horse's temperament completely changed. She wasn't this heavy. Oh yeah, make me do it. Well, like a tank,
It
right?
went from a large football player to a ballerina
There you
in the
go.
horse
Yes.
by changing the name. You bring back a memory decades ago. My friend named his dog JD, and it was short for Jack Daniels. And
Oh.
he would claim that dog just always acts like he's drunk. They never gave him any alcohol, never would. But again, you're throwing that expectation by way of name onto an animal, and it could be in anything. It's energy. It's energy. Wow.
Mhm. Yeah, so
Hmm.
that's just so Anna worked with this beautiful leopard, and again everybody should watch the video,
Yeah,
and his name changed to Spirit and instead of Diablo, and it was so perfect.
I love that
So
name.
yeah. So that is how we use animal communication to help understand what is bothering an animal, what is troubling an animal, whether it's physical or mental or emotional, or spiritual in terms of I can't do my mission. Why can't I do my mission? Well, because I'm eating crappy food, so I'm always run down. So a lot of what we do is to help people support their animal and learn from their animal. But one of the things that I do that I absolutely love is opening up to receive teachings from the wild ones, and I will call that the Council of Dolphins, the Council of Elephants. And again, like with my books, the Council of Cats, with my book Conversations with Cat, the Council of Dogs, with Conversations with Dog, etc. And that means it's the higher group mind. So I'm not having to interview, one dog, one cat, and another, and another, and another to get the wisdom. So what happens with the Council of Wild Animals is that I have a membership community called the Harmony Pack, and we meet weekly, and every month we have a different animal council that comes forward. Many of them come to me and kind of tap me on the shoulder and say, "Hi, we want to communicate this month." And so this month, we're actually working with the Meerkat Council, which is so much fun. They are
Wow.
so cool, right? Little meerkats from
Hmm.
the Kalahari.
And they're cute.
They're way cute. But they're teaching us about things that that amaze us. It's not always stuff that you just assume, oh yeah, that meerkats want to talk about barking on top of on top of the mound like prairie dogs. No.
Hmm.
And last month we worked with walruses, and that was fascinating. And when they teach us something, what they do, like the walruses said, we want you to connect deeper with each other. We want you to come with us and lie on the rock and feel your back against my side. Feel us all lying together on this rock and feel the connection, the warmth, feel the heartbeats. because humans are losing your connection. Well, most of us have lost it.
Hmm.
But this, if you go into a meditation and you feel this connection that they're offering of what is it like to lie on a rock in the sunshine with the Walrus Council. And what that does is it brings people into their hearts. And they talked about community. They talked about the need for physical connection, but also for a sense of who do you belong with? Who are you there with? And we've had conversations with dolphins when they've taught us about how to connect with the infinity symbol that connects our heart and our mind within our bodies, how to do a meditation with that. And what that does is it aligns your mind and your heart. So when you're thinking about decisions, you're thinking about choices, you focus on, okay, if I align my energies here, I know I'm going to come up with a better choice, a better decision. So it empowers a person who wants to use the gift that the Animal Council has given to start to grow their own wisdom, their own consciousness and awareness, because they teach us how to pay attention. And they give us these specific tools like the figure eight within the body. And they give us specific things like the sea turtles came. We worked with sea turtles. And then we also worked with the tortoises and the land tortoise versus the sea turtle. And of course, there was this whole thing about slowing down, right? Taking your time, going with the flow. I mean, you can say that's obvious, but when they communicate it, they have a way of really reaching into our hearts so that we get it. And the point of these communications from the wild ones is to help us personally grow and get more aligned with our purpose. What are we here to do? What did we come for? And what I've seen in our group is extraordinary because people will literally get rid of jobs that are not working for them, change relationships, reach out to the community instead of being so isolated. It has been so gratifying. So this is part of what I totally love is being a voice for the wild ones who wish us to know what they know and how they can help us grow personally and then of course collectively. So that's a passion of mine.
I love your passion. I got questions. First of all, just did a podcast with somebody astrologically connected, a
Mhm.
shaman,
Mhm.
and other things, um, who says that in our planetary alignment right now, Pluto, this is out of my wheelhouse by far, but Pluto has gone direct in terms of its station, first time in 100 years, big deal. And just what you said, and of course we just got done with a Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde. But the point here is everything you just said is what's going to be revealed for us now astrologically in terms of making those changes where it's almost like now the spotlight is on us. Now the door has been opened to call it ascension, where it's like, yeah, that job doesn't support me. I ain't doing it anymore. I got responsibility, but that doesn't work for me. I'm making changes. I'm going to do it now. It almost sounds like what you're saying. I need to know this. I need to know this, Kate. Wild animals. Do they know what we have going on here? Do they look at us and say, "Oh my gosh, look at those humans, man! They're running all over the place with holding these screens, and like that they're so unfocused on what's important in life." Are they aware?
Oh, yes. But here's the thing, Steve, that is so marvelous. When the animals come through to me and we spend a whole month with a council of, meerkats or walruses or dolphins or whomever, they share information so lovingly. It's never judgmental. But here's a really cool thing I want to share because I just thought of this one. We were working with seals, and seals said to us, we are bombarded with this stuff in the ocean, this stuff in the ocean. And what we see, and what we know about it is it's incomplete. And so they're talking about plastic. And so we dug a little deeper and they said, everything in nature has a cycle. And everything in nature grows, expands, and then contracts and deteriorates and then starts again. So there's a cycle of birth and, of breaking down and coming back in another form. But they said you created this thing that does not do that. It does not break down in a way that is in balance with nature.
They're aware
And
of
it's
this.
yeah, and it's up to you humans to figure out how to fix that. That's the problem. It's incomplete. You need to complete it, and then things will heal. But how important is that concept of going back to nature, which is, yes, something, comes out of the ground, it grows, it blossoms, and then it fades and it's returned to the earth. And everything in nature does that.
Yes.
And then but what we're
Including
doing is
people.
yes. But what we're doing is completely out of whack and out of balance. But if we
Amazing.
complete it in the way they said it so beautifully and happily, there are scientists working on breaking down plastics. And of course, the ideal thing would be to stop producing it and use things like kelp. And other kelp can be made into a film like plastic. There's so many
So many.
natural materials
Yeah.
that could be used. Mushrooms and mycelium, a company in Albany, and they use mycelium to create a packing material that can replace styrofoam and cardboard. And then when you break it all up, put it in the earth, it nourishes the earth. They're making a leather like for shoes out of it. There's and all of it's biodegradable. All of it will
Wow.
go back to something benign. So it was the SEALs that said it's incomplete. But what a great concept, right? Of looking at it that way. How do we complete these things that we made? How do we help them go back to something more basic, more healthy,
It's
more
3
healing?
words. They are aware. That's
Mhm.
major takeaway today. And when you think of the microplastics that you can't even see, but it's polluting us.
Yeah.
Talk to lots of scientists that this is what's going on here. They know, they're aware, and and they probably are experiencing it more than we are because they're in the water, and that's
Yeah.
the microplastics are all. That's where it is.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
it's not good. So
Wow.
we can turn to nature again. This is my theme always is comes back to we have these incredible teachers and healers and of course the plant kingdom, the mycelium, the mushrooms. Mushrooms will absorb oil. They've tested it in different kinds of, if there's an oil spill, mushrooms
Ah.
will absorb it. And not only this was like a land, I'm not sure about the water, but this was on land. They had different oil spills and they used bacteria and they used this and they used that. But mushrooms, not only did they eat all the oil, all this stuff was growing out of the place where the oil was, where everything else it killed.
Hearing you, I love you, by the way, but I gotta say, hearing what's being communicated from animals is making me angry. Just of what we got going on here. And where I live, there's a harbor not far away. I grew up in that town. There was a sewage spill last week. The harbor was green. It's just, I don't even want to talk about it or think about it, but it came to my mind as you're speaking of all the sea life, everything, the shellfish, don't eat the shellfish. Like, how did you let that happen, people? And why don't you have mushrooms, whatever it is, to mitigate it? It's just,
Well, again, it's so important for people to know there are natural solutions and you don't spray that nasty chemical stuff on the oil spill. I mean,
exactly right. We're
don't
out of
add a
time.
chemical to a chemical, but we got
I
to go.
want.
There's right.
I would keep going forever. This is so insightful, interesting. How does somebody connect with you? And again, you do so much as a communicator. If somebody wants to connect with their pet, their animal, get insight, especially if you have a rescue and want to know what was going on there before you saved that wonderful animal. The books, all the insight. How do we find you?
It's simple. My website, katesolisti.com. That's the best way to contact me and see what I'm up to. Yep, and learn about my Harmony Pack where we work with the councils. That again is something I'm very passionate about. So
Love
thank
it.
you, Steve. It was
Thank
wonderful
you.
to be with you today.
And the council, I have to say this because I just got this visual. To me, it's like the animal United Nations.
Yes.
What I got. See the
Thank you.
flags
It's
flying
good.
and all of that.
It's good.
Uh,
That's right.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here today.
You bet. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.